get played and the games get saved so they can be played on another day. Rob's Arcade.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Rob's Arcade. I'm your host, Mr. Rob French. And even though my lips aren't moving, I promise this is me that you're looking at. Not some weird digital character in a video game. This is the real Robert Armstrong. No, actually, yeah, just hanging out here in my little Spider-Verse, coming to you with a little update here on this beautiful Sunday morning, June 26th, 29th? Yeah, June 29th. Um, and I knew there was like a 6 or a 9 or something in there. Yeah, June 29th. And we are basically hanging out here in what is actually Peter Parker's laboratory um, that he works in. Actually, it's Dr. Octavius's laboratory that Peter Parker works in. But I used this video kind of set up a while back when I was doing a breakdown of my job and what I do, working with youth, working with middle school students and high school students, and how vast it is, and just how big it is, and how many moving pieces there are, and how many different little boxes and crates and things, and all of that there are to unbox, and that goes along with it. And I just thought that this setup was a beautiful um, kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Analogy for what I do, and even how the setup kind of works, where we have these different rooms that kind of represent the different pieces that I engage with and use. Is that Professor X's wheelchair? And that we use to that I used to kind of like. Um, sorry, the rooms and the way that this is set up do a great job in representing the different facets of what I do in my job. Um, as I mentioned before in another video, all of that was and is continuing to change, and it was a little God, it was a little scary, if you will, a little nerve wracking, and I wasn't very prepared for it at all. Like I was really caught off guard, excuse me, with a lot of it. Um, and I think a lot of the fellow advisors that I work alongside that also work in the field with teenagers. I think we were all caught off, a little off guard with it. I think we all wanted to spend a little more time, excuse me, a little more time with our students, and we just didn't quite, you know, get that chance. All right, sorry, I was making sure the microphone didn't cut out there a little bit, but yeah, so it was one of those things like we wanted more time, I think, to do the job we were doing. We weren't laid off, but essentially none of us really knew what we were going to be doing, and I've kind of like officially wrapped up all of my kind of teen stuff with a trip that we just took last week, and kind of like moving into my new role. And for those of you who didn't watch the video, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of explain like why I chose this room is because working with teens and working in the program that I do, I basically have like a volunteer kind of like teen club that I oversee at my job, and that basically takes up most of my time. So that's kind of like represented here in this big giant room, and literally like it's a great example because like I feel like all these boxes, all these pieces of equipment, everything also does a great job at representing a part of my job, the blueprints, all of it. I mean, these are all representing like volunteer opportunities. These are all representing email addresses, parents, communication. These are representing the meetings that I attend. I mean, like, there's just so many things going on in this one room, and it literally can feel like that just in the one piece that I was operating in. Another piece would be I did an after school tutoring program at a local middle school, and I kind of like I didn't do any of the actual teaching because I feel like God, the poor students would probably still be in the same grade. Um, they'd be in summer school right now, but it's another part that I would oversee and I would help manage and kind of facilitate. I was a facilitator of that, and so I chose this room as another great example of just like all the pieces that go into it. It's a lot of work. Again, it's parents, it's students, it's faculty at the school, it's events at the school, it's coordinating with tutors from another school. It's not quite as vast and complex, I would say, as my main job, which would be, like I said, the teen club, but it is still a pretty big enterprising undertaking enter, enterprising undertaking. Does that sound right? I don't even think that makes any. Um, Enormous undertaking, I guess, is what I'm looking to say. Um, as part of the enterprise that I run, and then I also do like these little teeny like one-off events a couple of times a month where like I just basically give the teens a place to hang out. And I thought that was a great representation of this room. It's not quite as hectic and crazy as the other rooms. It's not quite as big. But again, it's just one more piece to all that, all I do. And, there's still a lot that goes on with planning these one-offs, coming up with oh God, what is it? What are we doing? Are we doing a Lego night? Are we going to watch a movie? Is there something we can tie into? I think for what was it? Earth Day, we watched Fern Gully and kind of hung out and did like some Earth Day stuff. But again, you put all of these together, and it's just one big wow. That's a lot of stuff going on, and that's just at one branch. And now they're putting excuse me, having a little coffee there. They're putting multiple branches under one person now, which to me is just insane. But that's what they're doing. That's what the model that they're going with. I've already talked with the young lady who's going to be helping out and like taking over with the teen stuff at our branch, and I think it's going to be a pretty smooth transition. I'm hoping it will be a pretty smooth transition, but it's a transition nonetheless. It's going to be a little rocky. It's going to be a little different. And, you know, I was kind of uncertain, like, what my role even looked like. I hadn't really thought about her in the sense that, like, well, one, it's just a huge undertaking. Like, so imagine, like, you're one person dealing with one of these. Now imagine that you're the one person dealing with this times three, like three laboratories, three giant rooms, three of these like smaller rooms, but still have a ton of stuff going on inside of them as well. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to put together. So I was always thinking of that in terms of like, wow, that's just a heavy workload. But in talking with the young lady who is like actually taking over and going to be responsible for, you know, using all of this stuff here, basically, she's not even really sure what her role is. Like what, it's some defining, um, like characteristics of the job that she's certain of. Like she's got an idea, but a lot of it's changing again. So like, the idea is to put more of the academic in, or not academic, sorry, I'm thinking of the tutoring thing. I can't talk this morning. Putting more of the administrative stuff on, I guess, on somebody else's plate, so that you're more free to do the hands-on pieces. Is I guess what mine. But then who does all that administrative work, and then like where and when does that envelope stop? Because I know myself, even when dealing with some of this stuff. I mean, like, again, all of these little pieces represent something. So let's say somewhere in all those boxes is the transportation for these events that we do. Sometimes we do volunteer events that aren't on site. Sometimes they're off, at a park or wherever. So we need transportation to get to a rally. We need transportation to get to these places. And sometimes it's taken care of. Sometimes it's not. I had an incident where it was like, don't worry about the bus. We've taken care of the bus. We've got the bus. And then the next event, I realized my driver had a thing going on. So as I reached out to transportation to try to resolve the driver issue, I realized we didn't even have a bus. So it's like there are times in my job where I'm not even certain where that line is. Like what's my responsibility? Do I have to get? Last year it was very clear. Like every time we would do um, anything off site, like I had to go over and, pick up the phone and, send an email and kind of do all these things. I don't think I've ever been over to this part of the lab. Got like a coffee maker. It's just kind of cool. Stove, kitchen. Have I been over here?
It's
I mean,
late nights in this lab. Glad Doc keeps the snacks stocked up. We should get more of those little cheese squares, though.
I don't think I've ever been to this part of the lab. There's a radio? That's so crazy. Um, So like, I would have to like, send the emails, get all the transportation. I knew like what my role is. And I think right now some of that is like, there are people in place trying to work out the kinks with transportation and work out the kinks with all these things so that we don't have to worry about it. But it's also new to them. And now it's like, oh, we forgot this time. It's just like, so having then three of these, again, giant labs to juggle, if you will, just to use some biology. It's it's tough. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot going on. It's easy to catch when you have one branch. It's like easy to kind of pivot when you have one branch. It's easy to do these things when you're just responsible for one club. But imagine if you're responsible for three clubs and like the transportation piece isn't figured out, and you're sitting there on a Saturday morning wait to get to an event, and all of a sudden you can't get there because there's like the transportation hasn't been taken care of. So even in talking with her, even though she's like her role is defined in what she's doing, she herself is still even kind of confused as to like, okay, what am I doing? What are my day to days? Like, what is my schedule? My weekly? It's a lot. So, um, it's one of those pieces where it's like is bittersweet and as frustrating as it is from time to time. Everybody's kind of rolling through it. Together. I'm fortunate enough that like the where they wanted to place me, I had experience in already. Like as a department that I kind of started in, so it's not like I'm trying to, you know, figure everything out again. It's kind of actually very much like old territory. And in fact, I've been in this new kind of role for the last couple of weeks, with a lot of uncertainty, not really knowing like, all right, like, well, one, I've been freaking out. So with this whole thing, if I'm not doing this teen stuff anymore, I have a very specific role, very specific title too, as a director. I'm like, I have a specific, like, I'm a program director, like that's my thing. And I take it very serious. I've always wanted to be a director. I've always wanted to be one. It was a movie director, but I've always wanted to be a director. It's so ironic, so weird. I gotta see. I gotta know what's on this. Uh, this is what Doc Ock listens to. It's like that keyboard demo. Ooh ooh doot doot ooh ooh doot 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 ooh ooh doot 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 doot. Just keeps getting layered. All right. So I've always wanted to be a director, and here I am. Finally made it, Ma. And now I'm like, all right. So does that change? Um, they say they have a job for me. They have a spot for me. But as I'm moving back into the department that um, I was familiar with and where I kind of started, that department itself is also changing. It's also shifting. It's also like changing in this like realignment, if you will. So then I know that the roles that existed before aren't going to be the same. So where does that leave me? Is it a full time role? I don't know. So it's all very confusing and scary. But the whole point it was just kind of like hanging in there and just kind of like rolling with the punches, if you will, and just doing the best I can do, and just doing my job um, to the best of my ability.
Man, I
Um,
remember the first day I interviewed here. Showed up with stains on my shirt, 10 minutes late from stopping a mugging. Still can't believe Doc hired me. Hope he doesn't regret it now.
that's really ironic. So yeah, right back in where I started, right where I interviewed, kind of back in the same office that I started in. Even though the office is a different office, it's that same department, and it's amazing. This is basically like you know, what I'm working with now. Like I went from kind of like dealing with all of this craziness. Look, it's like loud in here. There's like a constant buzzing and humming and I should come in here and just hang out by my desk, and it's not as it's not as noisy. It's not as buzzy. You still hear it. And the amazing part is like I'm still able to do some of the things I was doing before and engaging with youth the way I was doing before. Um, but it's not as much going on. It's not as much pressure. There's still a lot. There's still a lot of pieces in here. There's still a lot of stuff to unbox and a lot of things to maintain and look over. Um, but um, the weeks lately have been a lot more relaxing, a lot more calming. I've had more time to jump in and do videos and just kind of hang out and play video games with my friends and all those things. And it's been really good. It's been really solid. And uh, my whole thing is that like the people that I work for, they were really instrumental in helping me achieve goals that I set myself or set for myself in order to live a better life. And as I was hitting those goals and making those strides, I remember thinking that like I wish I could kind of give back in that sense of like what they had given me. And then ironically, I wound up actually working for them. And then like once that happened, it became like, all right, well, I just want to be able to like give back, like I feel like this place really helped me and really gave me a chance to like better myself. And if I can do that for somebody else, like that's kind of like the whole thing. And even with all of these changes, I've just been like really hoping like to be a part of that machine and still do those things um that are important. And like at the end of the day, it's not. I mean, honestly, it's because I don't. I'm not making a killing at what I do, so it's not about the paycheck. It's not about the money. It really is. It's like just a rewarding thing that I get to do. And honestly, it's like the most important piece for me is just being able to be a part of that machine and being able to give back in some regard. And so even with all of this, and like, there's been apologies like, sorry, we don't really know what's going on and all of that. I'm like, look, as long as there's somewhere for me to kind of like continue to better people, to continue to help people, like that's really, and it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy. I've mentioned like cliches before, and I think they're cliches for a reason, but it's true. It's so very true that like, as long as I can keep doing um, the good work, that's kind of like what's been most important to me. And I'm really happy to say that yesterday I was given finally some clarity on all of that and offered a new position as still a director, full time. That kind of, like I said, overseeing the department that I kind of started in and kind of helping out with, like, um, really like just all the programming and overseeing all the kind of things that and supporting all the things that we do at my branch. And it's really flattering. Like, it was one of those things, like, I was kind of promised a lot of the stuff and told, like, no, we value you, we need you for your relationships, and we need you for like just your skill sets and these different things. And I'm like, okay, I've heard it a lot of times. You're promised certain things and then things change. Like, all of this was a change. I don't think any of us saw any of this on the horizon at all. And so, you just kind of have to like roll with the flow, and or go with the flow, roll with the punches. But I'm glad I hung in there, because I really do feel like this new position is really catered to my skill set and my strength. So um, I'm excited and just like really happy to be able to share that with you guys. We're looking at the what is it, a service delivery director, which not even really sure again like what exactly that means. But at looking it over, it looks like it's basically like what I already do anyway, and kind of like what my you know what plays into my wheelhouse anyway. So I'm really excited that uh, you know uh, one, everything they kind of promised me was true, because like I said, I know how things can change. But then two, that like they're seeing where people's strengths are and where their skill sets lie, and like how can they better serve our people, the community, our branch, like all of those different things. um, and there's still room for me to get involved with a lot of the team programming. In fact, I think with this new role that I have, I'll be able to lend more support to like the young lady who's taking over the teen program. But I'll be able, I think, to be there and continue to be there for the teens as well. Um, and also, uh, even just last night, um, I think because of the fact that my branch can trust me. Like last night, we had a lock-in with another club, and I was able to help out with that. So there's even room while we do things like summer camp and like help out other clubs for me to still have time, with the youth and all of that. And that's been really like the most important part. Like, last night, like I said, we're doing a lock-in with a small group, about maybe a dozen, 10 to 12, um, 10 to 12 like high school students. And most of them were African American. um, and when you look at it like that, and I don't want to sound like offensive, but a lot of times those young men and women are seen like statistics. Like how many are going to not make it to college, or how many are going to wind up young parents, how many are going to wind up as young single parents, all of these things. And it really, like, and I work with, excuse me, I work with, a large number, I mean, like, Spanish and Middle Eastern white students, and the different classes and all these things. And I've done it for the last couple of years, and it's all very different. They're all different dynamics. And, you know, like when I throw a teen event, and literally like there's more of a mix, and there's just like, you don't really think about it so much, but like, I mean, literally, you put like 10 young black men in a room, and give them like a positive space to exist in, and you really see the benefit, you really see the difference, and you can really see the change in their lives, and it's amazing. It's truly, like again, we just came back from a trip on the mountain. and there was, you know, a vast number of all kinds of students, men and I mean, excuse me, boys and girls and different colors and races and all kinds of backgrounds. And so it just becomes like kind of almost like a wash, and you don't really think about it. But literally, I've been like, you know, able to help out with different clubs where it is a majority of like, you know, young African American boys and girls, and it really stands out. Like, you know, you really realize that, like on a Friday night, they need a place like this. You know, on a summer evening when there's like really not much to do in the neighborhood, they need a spot that they can go to and, you know, be themselves and not have to worry about some of the dangers that exist for them in the world. I'm not trying to get off on a soapbox, but I mean, you really see how important that like the work that we do is, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, these kids are, you know, and not to say that like, you know, white children or Spanish Chinese or whatever can't also um, play a part in statistics and all of that. But I mean, like, honestly, if we're going to be real and, you know, look at what, like, you know, the news and all of that focuses on and what, you know, stands out, a lot of times, you know, young men and women who grow up in neighborhoods that don't really have all the resources that some of these, like, you know, private school neighborhoods do, they don't have the best lives, and sometimes they don't hang with the best people, and sometimes they don't make the best decisions, and sometimes it can lead to consequences that affect the rest of their lives. And so again, like you put 10 or 12 of these guys in a room together, and like you see just how amazing they are and how smart and how funny and creative they can be, and it really like hits home, and you're like, wow, like, you know, these, you know, we're out here, we're like we're saving lives, we're changing lives, and it's really amazing. And the reason I put all that out there is just to say that like I'm really blessed and fortunate that I can still do that part as well, even as I step into this new role and this new chapter in my career. Yeah, I'm just, you know, really excited. We're getting ready to wrap up June and jump into July, and it's just been really awesome. You know, I went from part time to full time in about 5 months, and then from that, I've been, you know, promoted, um, not once now, but twice, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been really great. I'm excited for this new chapter and this new ride. And excited to, you know, take you guys with me along the way. Um, and I want to thank you guys for kind of hanging out here with me uh, today and just, you know, let me kind of get some of this out there. Um, Make sure you guys, you know, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about all this. Let me know how you're doing. And yeah, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and until next time, don't spend that quarter anywhere else.